Hey gang, welcome to another episode of Post Daily Dose with me, your trusted parenting advisor, faithful guide and servant on the healing journey. What's my name? Big Papa Bryan+Post. Happy Sunday everyone. In this episode, we're going to talk about these 3 levels that you absolutely need to know that could change everything. I've talked about this before, but I thought, I think I better review this because I think that this is so important. I want parents to really get what it is that I mean, and I really want you to be thinking about it, and I really want you to really see how it plays out with your own children. So there are 3 ways in which we all express our emotions, and you can go back into, I don't know what episode it was, but I think I went really in depth in this in a previous episode. But there are 3 ways that we express our emotions: their attitudes, their feelings, and their behaviors. This is so important because typically with attitudes, we have all of this generational conditioning that tell us that when children give us their attitudes, they're being disrespectful, they're being willfully disobedient. When they give us their feelings, we're told that children are supposed to be seen and not heard. We have all these generational messages that, they're messages that create anxiety for us. And so when we see our children behaving a certain way, when they're expressing their attitudes, rolling their eyes, when they're expressing their feelings, talking back, cursing, whatever it may be, we have these expressions. Hey, Mom. Hey, Lauren. Hey, Sylvia. Thank you guys for joining me. And I don't always see everyone that pops up on the screen. Like, I'll see these numbers, but I don't see names, and that's cool. But there's my usual posties. So I appreciate you all joining me this evening. So we have all this assigned meaning, all this assigned energy to attitudes and feelings, and then you have behavior. So I always look at it, for me, it's like a scale. Attitudes are on top, and then there are feelings, and then there are behaviors, and underneath behaviors, there's this triangle. So here's the significance. When children are, hey Tressa, and hey Bethany, when children are expressing their attitudes, because of our generational conditioning, we are prone to not want those attitudes. We are prone automatically, it's like on autopilot from an unconscious place, to try to suppress those attitudes. Don't roll your eyes at me. Don't huff and puff. Just do what I tell you to do. I don't need that attitude from you. So it's like automatic because we have so much generational conditioning. So what we're doing is we're suppressing attitudes. And remember, attitudes, feelings, and behaviors are the way in which we express our emotions. Well, why do we express emotion? Well, what is an emotion? Emotion is energy in motion, and the body only has 2 energetic states. It has a thriving state, which is love, and it has a surviving state, which is fear. Very important that you understand. Hey, Kirsten, and hello again, Tressa. And so it's very important that you understand the body only knows those 2 states, love and fear. Those are the only 2 emotional states the body knows. Thriving, which is love, and surviving, which is fear. Now, emotion is energy in motion. So it's the energy that transitions in our body. It's the energy that keeps us alive. It is ultimately our vibration. So we're in a loving vibration or we're in a fearful vibration. And the good book says, perfect love casts out all fear. It also says where one exists, the other is not. So it's very important to understand that we are always in one of these emotional shifts. Well, when children are being asked to transition. And literally, anytime you ask a child to do something, you're requesting that they make a transition. Anytime we do things, we're being asked to make a transition. You're driving along and you think you're going to go to a restaurant, and all of a sudden you realize that you got to go back to the house. You have to transition. You have to emotionally transition. Now, as adults, hopefully we're able to handle that a little bit better, but not all children are able to do that, right? So with children, if they think they're going to McDonald's and all of a sudden they have to turn around and go back home, guess what the first thing you're going to get from them is, what? Oh my God! Are you serious? Why do we have to go back home? I don't want to go back home. And it can just escalate, right? Because they're attempting, through expressing their feelings, they're attempting to transition. And they're doing it through the expression of emotion. Bruce Perry says, anytime we encounter a novel event, we perceive that event as a threat until deemed otherwise. So it's the same way with attitudes. You ask your child to go take out the trash. You ask them to turn off the television. You ask them to come to the dinner table. And you get, and you immediately see this as a threat, right? Your amygdalas immediately see this as a threat because it's our primal brain, because in our primal brain, connected to our brainstem are all these old messages, all these old imprints that stir up our brainstem, stir up our body, get our fear and our stress energy stirred up, and before you know it, we've escalated. If there's trauma, we've tapped into, stirred up some trauma in the brainstem, and then the whole world goes black and it all goes crazy and it becomes a mess. Because typically we feed into our children's need to transition. So we don't want the attitude, so we suppress them. We don't want the feelings, so we suppress them. Attitudes, feelings, and then what? Behaviors. So the child gets mad. They don't get to go to McDonald's. They have to turn around and go to the house. And it doesn't mean that we're not going to turn back around and go back to McDonald's, but in the child's brain, in the child's emotional experience in that moment, because they cannot effectively transition yet, and they don't have an effective window of tolerance, effective ability to tolerate to regulate those emotions. Boom, they go out of those emotions into a state of dysregulation. So now they're kicking the back of the seat on the car, and the parent is yelling, "Stop doing that," or pulling over, saying, "Get out, we're not going to do this," and now none of us are going to McDonald's, we're just going back home, period, right? Doesn't it just spiral out of control? Don't you just feel how that happens? Well, what happens? Because see, underneath, I said that Bruce Perry said all of us upon encountering a novel event perceive the event as a threat until deemed otherwise. We perceive all novel events as a threat until deemed otherwise. And the way we deem them otherwise, how do we deem them otherwise? How do we deem a perceived threat as not a threat? I want you to ask yourself that question. By expressing our emotions. By transitioning through our emotions. Sylvia says, sounds like me every day. By transitioning through our emotions. We perceive a threat as not a threat by transitioning through our emotions. So when we roll our eyes, we're actually emotionally transitioning. When we express our feelings, we're actually emotionally transitioning. And guess what that allows us to do? It allows us not to have to drop into behaviors. When it comes with a hug, Ray says, yeah, a hug always makes it better. But what it allows us to do when a child is expressing through their attitudes and expressing through their feelings, when we can accept those things, they don't have to drop into behaviors, because we certainly don't want the behaviors. But what if the child's kicking the seat, right? So we immediately suppress the behavior. Once we suppress the behavior, then what do you get? Now, this is where it gets tough, because underneath behavior, we only have two options. See, I use a triangle. Option 1 is anger. Option 2 is depression. That's the triangle. So we have behavior, anger, depression. Behavior, anger, depression. So if you suppress the behavior, you're always ever going to get anger. The child acts out more, or you're going to get depression. The child acts inward. Anger and depression have to come out through behaviors. See, there's no other option. There's no other place to go. We can't suppress the feeling, the emotion any further. So we suppress it all the way down to anger and depression, and it has to come back up out through behavior, and usually it comes out even worse. Stephen Covey says, upset feelings never die. They're buried alive and come back as something uglier. Upset feelings never die. They're buried alive, and they come back as something uglier. I call this little triangle the trauma triangle. If you spend 6 months or longer in behavior, anger, and depression, that's the trauma triangle. You are living at a level of stress that is akin to trauma. Everyone in the family is living at this level of stress. And what do you get at this level of stress? What do you get at the level of the trauma triangle? You get diagnosis, you get medication, you get disruptive placements, you get residential treatment, you get excessive restraint and behavior modification. We get all these really extreme aspects of control. But see, now I want to rewind. That was my rewind. So let's walk through each three really quick. First of all, going to McDonald's. Have to turn around because you forgot your cell phone. Okay, turn around. Hey, kids, got to run back to the house. Oh my God, we got to go. Why are we going back home? You said we could go to McDonald's. See that? See that? So what's that do to your brain immediately? Oh, sends your amygdala into red alert, red alert, red alert, red alert, right? Right? What I want you to do, grab the steering wheel, take some deep breaths, because now you're transitioning. And they're still going, blah, 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 blah. And where you go as you go. Honey, 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 it's going to be okay. I just got to run back to the house for a minute. Got to get my phone. Then we're going to go to McDonald's. I need you to take some deep breaths. It's going to be okay. Everything's going to be all right. You guys want to hear something on the radio? You want to play a song? Bam, done. Going back home. Get your phone. Go back to McDonald's. Right? Let's go one step further. Go down to feelings. I hate you. I hate you. You to us. Oh, isn't that a classic one? You always do this. You always say we're going to go somewhere, and then you change your mind, and we're not going to go. Oh, my God, I can't believe this is happening to me again. What's your response? Well, what's your immediate reaction? Red alert, red alert, red alert, red alert. And then you call. Breathe. Breathe. Now, this is important, because after you override your amygdala a few times, by calming yourself down. See, your amygdala is getting an imprint too. You're imprinting on your amygdala that tells you you're not at risk. You're not going to die. So when you calm yourself down a few times, you'll stop being as reactive to your kids. So then you say, same thing. Honey, it's all right. We got this. Everything's going to be okay. This is the situation. Let's take some deep breaths. We're still going to go to McDonald's. I apologize. I forgot to bring my phone. Why didn't you guys remind me to bring my phone? Who was in charge of my phone? I know one of you guys was in charge of my phone. We're just changing the energy, right? Because what we're ultimately doing is we're allowing our child an opportunity to express their emotions and their feelings and transition to what they thought they were going to get to what they're now not going to get, but then it's just delayed. It's just delayed. So we're still allowing them to transition through their attitudes and their feelings. So now that we've done that, they've calmed down. Boom, boom, boom. So home, McDonald's, bam, done. Now, what happens if we don't allow attitudes and we don't allow feelings? Bam, they go to behaviors. Now, this is the stressful part. Right? So we're on the way to McDonald's. Oh, forgot the phone. Oh, got to go back home, guys. Oh my God. Boom, boom, boom. Kids kicking the back seat, just throwing a freaking tantrum, banging on the window, bang, bang. And now you're really freaking out, right? Because you're thinking he's going to tear up the car, which is going to be expensive. He's going to knock out the window. Now you pull over, whoop, put the car in park, get out of the car. Whoa. I just took you completely out of a threatening situation. And you know what your child just did? They just went, oh shit, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Why did he just get out of the car? What is going on? That's all you're doing. That's all you're doing. You're getting out of the car. You're regulating yourself. Because it's really overwhelming when kids behave that way. Really overwhelming. You could even get triggered. Really overwhelming, but you have to take responsibility. Why do you have to take responsibility? Where does the parent take responsibility in this situation? You take responsibility by forgetting the phone. You forgot the phone. Yes, it was a mistake. It is a mistake. We make freaking mistakes as parents, but we got to own it. We've got to take responsibility, because had we not forgotten the freaking phone, we wouldn't have triggered our child and sent them over the edge right through their attitudes, right through their feelings, into their behaviors, so they're now freaking out. Now we got to take responsibility. This is the hard part. Oh my God, this is so hard. This is so hard. You get out, you realize I got to take responsibility. This is my doing. I'm going to walk around to the car. I'm not going to just get back in. I'm going to walk around, because my child is obviously in shock, definitely on the edge, the precipice of fight, flight, or freeze. I open the door. I'm going to look at him. I'm going to get down so he can see me eyeball to eyeball. And I'm going to say, honey, I'm sorry. Dad forgot his phone at home. I need to go get it. I need you to keep your feet on the floor, please. I understand that you're upset. Please don't hit the window, because it really stresses me out. I apologize. I'm going to go get my phone. And then we're going to go to McDonald's. I apologize. Can you forgive me? Next time, will you try to help me remember? Great. Okay, I love you. Thank you. Doot, doot, doot. Home, phone, back to McDonald's. Have a good time. Done. Now, what am I doing there? What am I doing? I am allowing, in all those scenarios, I'm allowing my child to have their attitudes. When they have their attitudes, they don't have to drop to their feelings, right? They have their attitudes. That's what we want. You want attitudes. When they have their feelings, when they can have their feelings, they don't have to drop to their behaviors. You want feelings. But in the rare instance that they are already negatively conditioned, that attitudes aren't okay and feelings aren't okay, and they drop into their behaviors, you've got to allow them to work through their behaviors, and that is the hardest thing ever. But you're allowing them to work through their behaviors, express their behaviors, and then by expressing their behaviors, you're learning that what you actually want are their attitudes. And so later on, maybe after we're leaving McDonald's, you say, hey, honey, you know, earlier when I had to go back and get my phone and you really got upset and you started kicking. Yeah. Next time, can we just practice right now? Next time you get upset, can you just yell? I'm so mad. I'm so scared. I'm so sad, Dad, that you keep leaving your phone and you're putting me at risk for never getting McDonald's and I may die. Can we just practice that right now, guys? Let's just practice that right now. And what you're doing is you're giving your child an option and you're teaching them that they can express their feelings and they can express their attitudes and they never have to go into behaviors. The only way to get a child who is negatively conditioned for behaviors out of behaviors is to teach them how to express their feelings and their attitudes. That's the only way to do it. I'm going to say that one more time. The only way to get a child out of their behaviors, especially when they're conditioned to go into behaviors, is to teach them to express their feelings and their attitudes. And then you recondition them. You get them reconditioned. This process in your home, if you can do this process, shouldn't take you more than 6 months. You should be able to get a child out of significant, extreme behaviors up to attitudes and feelings so that they never even drop back into behaviors within the next 3 to 6 months. But you got to be able to do those first parts that I mentioned. Okay? Remember, in any given situation, we can choose to do what the generations have informed us to do. We can just go on autopilot. We can go on autopilot and we can yell, we can back, we can smack our kids, and we can turn around and we can punish everybody. We can be mad, and we can be stressed out parents. We can operate from fear. We can operate from stress. We can operate from a state of overwhelm and take no responsibility and make it everyone else's fault. Or we can stop. We can take 3 to 10 deep breaths. We can get out of the freaking car if we have to. We can get within ourselves, get ourselves situated, figure out how we can take responsibility in this situation, because ultimately that's what it always comes back to. It's not about blame. It's not about blame. It's about our willingness to take responsibility. Figure out how we can take responsibility, apologize for our shortcomings, and choose love. God bless each and every one of you. Happy, happy Sunday. I hope you have a fantastic and relaxed Sunday evening. I hope that you lay your head down tonight, and I hope that you wake up. I hope you wake up refreshed, because through the night I want the cortisol to leave all of the cells of your body, and I want there to be repair happening, and I want there to be healing happening in all of your homes and all your families. And I want you to wake up refreshed, re-energized, and reinvigorated, and ready to make Monday marvelous. Let's make Monday marvelous Monday. God bless you, and we'll see you next time.